Why are so many people asking for OpenGate in their cameras? Will Canon, Sony, and Nikon release firmware updates giving their latest cameras OpenGate? I'll answer these questions and more in this video. But first, I have a rather simple and yet humble request. Please subscribe to this channel. It doesn't cost you anything. It helps this channel grow, and best of all, it keeps you informed on the latest camera gear. OpenGate refers to the capability of capturing the entire sensor's output for use in stills or video. But this capability is far more significant in cinema cameras or stills hybrid cameras. One of the reasons why OpenGate is so desired is the ability to capture the entire sensor's output in terms of height and width, giving you complete control over the sensor's maximum resolution. It captures everything, whereas traditional cameras either crop from a 3:2 or a 4:3 aspect ratio down to something like 16:9, which is commonly referred to as UHD. Flexibility is a huge benefit to OpenGate. What it gives editors is the complete ability to control how the framing is done, allowing editors to crop or adjust the framing without losing significant resolution, because OpenGate gives them more pixels to work with. And that extra headroom also benefits when it comes to stabilization, not in-camera stabilization, but post-stabilization. And why that's significant is, if you turn on stabilization in your camera, digital stabilization, what often happens is every now and then you're going to get a scene or some clips where it's going to produce some warping effect. And unfortunately, you can't correct that. But if you wait and you do it in post with OpenGate, it gives you more flexibility. But the other benefit to OpenGate is how you control the framing based on 16:9, 16:10, or any other, maybe you want to do a square format. But you can choose where within that frame you want to capture the information. And that's something you don't get a choice with when shooting with traditional cameras without OpenGate. Another benefit to OpenGate is the amount of vertical resolution that's available, much more than in your traditional shooting modes. This is really beneficial if you're shooting landscapes or maybe architectural shots or even group shots. If you've ever seen early footage from the turn of the century, not this century, but the last century, things look sped up because they're usually shot at between 12, 16, or 20 frames per second. And they also don't sound quite accurate. But not only that, we've lost a lot of detail because, well, the quality of the source footage has either been lost or the conversion to digital or even analog has suffered over the years. By being able to capture OpenGate and preserve it for archival purposes, what we're ensuring is that the best possible footage is preserved for future uses, whether it's converted to upscale to 8K, 12K, or even just 4K with more detail. The guess, well, it's up to, I don't know. I'm just saying that when it comes to future-proofing, for archival purposes, we don't know what the future may hold, but giving them the best possible footage today, well, gives them more options. Visual effects studios also really prefer, well, OpenGate, and some of them actually require it because, once again, it gives them more room for special effects such as compositing, tracking, and rendering. Using anamorphic lenses on a camera that doesn't give you OpenGate can result to some of the image being cropped, and that's because anamorphic lenses project a taller image onto the sensor. OpenGate ensures that the full anamorphic field of view is captured without losing a single part of the image to cropping. Many professional cinema cameras, such as Arri, do support OpenGate. But over the past, well, 5 years or so, we've started to see OpenGate come out to more and more cameras, although they're still largely limited to Lumix and a couple of Fujifilm cameras, which I'll get to in just a moment. But as we've seen with other video capabilities that Lumix has brought out, after a certain number of years, we start to see those coming out in Canon and Nikon. I mean, just what, 5 years ago, the only time Canon would release a firmware update is if there was some major bug. They wouldn't release any new capabilities. But now, we almost get new firmware updates every couple of months for cameras such as the R5 Mark II, or on Nikon, the Z8 and the Z9. The purpose of this video is to raise awareness of what OpenGate is and why so many people are asking for it. And not just Panasonic customers, which are largely getting it, but other customers, people buying the Canon EOS R5 Mark II for $42.99, the Nikon Z8 for a little bit less at $33.96. It's to raise the priority, to raise the noise level so that Canon raises the priority of delivering OpenGate in recently announced cameras such as the R5 Mark II in a firmware update. And what about the Nikon Z8 or Nikon Z9 and even Sony? Because as I record this video right here, right now, today, on January the 13th, OpenGate is limited to, well, this multitude of Panasonic cameras, and there are a lot of them. But once we move away from Panasonic, there's only 2 Fujifilm cameras, the XS20 and the XH2S. So what do you think of OpenGate? I know if you're a photographer, this probably isn't a big deal for you. But there are certain shots where you've taken them and maybe you just wish you had a little bit more above the frame or a little bit more below the frame. And OpenGate is kind of like RAW. Well, maybe you don't always need RAW. You're shooting RAW and JPEG, but if you kind of goofed on the exposure a little bit, well, RAW will allow you to bring that back. And OpenGate for photography allows you to access more information on the frame so you can choose how to crop it. So for those situations where you kind of crop the head a little bit and you didn't want to, well, OpenGate comes to the rescue. And when it comes to videographers, cinematographers, I can really appreciate it for the same reasons. Now, I don't have it with the R5 Mark II, but as I did this video piece, as I've thought about OpenGate over the last couple of months, I've thought, you know what? This would be a perfect candidate for a firmware update. And not just for the R5 Mark II, the Nikon Z8, the Sony A7 IV, or the A7 V coming out. I know Sony doesn't like to release new capabilities and firmware updates, but here's the deal. And this is a pretty big deal. If you actually start to raise a little bit of noise, if you reach out, if you're in a camera store, ask them about OpenGate. If you're at a trade conference, ask Canon about OpenGate. If we all do this, and if you're interested in it, well, the likelihood that we see it in a future camera or a firmware update, well, I think it greatly is improved. And by just doing this video here today, I'm raising the awareness. I'm raising, how should we say, the noise level, but in a good way. So what do you think? Now, at the time of recording this video, I just want to let you know there's a lot of deals of the week on right now. Even though we're in a new year and it's January and it's a slow time, we still have a lot of deals from Canon and Nikon. Nothing from Sony. Sony's taking their sales off, but we still have a lot of deals on Canon and Nikon equipment. And I've got about 20 links in the description down below, these guys right here. And they're not as good as the sales we had at Christmas, but still, look at the Nikon Z8 right here. Look at that deal. That's a pretty impressive deal. And the Canon EOS R6 Mark II, again, another really incredible deal. Now, if you do use my links to purchase at Adorama, B&H, or Amazon.com, I want to let you know that you're supporting this channel. You're literally helping to keep the lights on because I get a small commission back of anywhere from 2 to 5%. And a big thanks to those of you that have done it in the past. It's very much appreciated, and it really helps sustain and grow this channel. One word of caution, though, if you are using Honey or other, how should we say, deal offer plugins to your browser, quite often when they don't come up with a deal, but they say, hey, I can look for any deals here, what they're doing is replacing my link with theirs. So just keep that in mind. Right now, I don't think you're going to see a better deal than the R6 Mark II or the Nikon Z8. But take a look at some of the other deals. I have the price listing in the description down below. But that's it for now. Have yourself a great day, a great week, and we'll see you again soon.